What is up, vinyl community? My name is Kieran, Needle Groove. We're back for another Zoom session. This time I'm hosting David Gibson, Localbandography on YouTube. What's up, Dave?
It's happening.
Glad we were able to do this. So yeah, we've been, known each other for a while through the internets, through YouTube and Instagram. Your name on Instagram on YouTube is Localbandography. You want to tell us a bit about that, where that name comes from?
Yeah. So I was a roadie for bands back in the 90s, and it's a long story. I got this job as security for Best Buy, so I was messing with security cameras, and I got the idea, okay, we sell a bunch of these, the new video cameras. In the store, I can get a discount and get one and film my friend's band while I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? So I started, I think it was like, when 2000 happened, my friend's band Etheric played at this small pool hall. And it was one of the first times I filmed a band, like really wanted to do it right. I'd done it once before, just screwing around. And then I kept filming them over and over, all their gigs. And then it led to, I always was talking to all the other bands, and then they'd hire me to film their gigs. And so I had to come up with a name for kind of like my business that I had started. It's really more just for fun, but so I came up with Localbandography, and I've been filming bands for over 20 years. Cool. So I just carried that over to anything that I do in music. So it's,
Why is that not your name on Instagram then as well? It's like the only place you have the different.
Oh yeah, well, Instagram, I'm able to keep in touch with a lot of my friends in Spain.
Okay.
And so it's B-Core7 because of the B-Core Records.
Yeah.
Link. So that's why I have that way.
So our like how we got connected was through mostly jazz records, but I know that's not how you first got into music. You were into a lot of different styles of music. So kind of the purpose of these Zoom sessions that I've done so far is to kind of hear about your music and music history, and then how you got into records. So tell us what's your first how'd you get into music and where did it start for you?
Music is because of my mom. So she was, always into all different kinds of music when I was growing up. But, it started with, I grew up on a farm in upstate New York. So it started with Willie and Waylon. And I liked Waylon Jennings way more than Willie Nelson because Waylon Jennings was a little more hardcore, I thought. And, 8 tracks. We had a big stereo system with 8 tracks. It was loud. And I remember one of my early birthday, I got the first little cassette thing, little one cassette player.
Yeah.
I got, what did I get? Michael Jackson Thriller and an Elton John cassette. So that's what started that.
Cool. And what was the first then when do you first remember buying music for yourself?
For myself, because I worked on the farm, I'd get paid once a week. And when I was able to drive, so when I first was able to drive, so I was probably 16, I guess, I would drive to a town, Canandaigua, to a record store up there, and I would buy all the Rush CDs I could get and all the U2 CDs I could get. But I was a collector already. I was like, I want everything they've done. So I'd go and I'd get 2. Usually I'd have enough money to get 2 every time. And that's kind of started the CD thing.
So that was, like me, it was started with CDs. The first music I remember listening to was records with my parents and tapes in the car and stuff, and then CDs. But yeah, by the time I was buying music for myself was definitely CDs. And then, so what was your progression from there? Where did it expand, starting with kind of rock where you're buying for yourself?
Yeah, well, college is where, because that time 91 through 95 was amazing for music across the board. I mean, you had all the different types of music coming out. They're still all classics now. And that's where I first got into buying vinyl. Was in college. I mean, I was still getting CDs mainly, but if it was something I really was like gung ho about, like the first Rage Against the Machine album, then yeah, I went out and got the wax too.
So what like made that where you're like, I'm gonna buy a record? What, like, why buy a record instead of the CD at that time in the early '90s when no one was buying records, really, the general population?
Because there were, yeah, well, mainly because there weren't many. And I was like, man, I want to have this because no one else does.
Smart.
And, well, yeah, well, it's not smart because I had a whole case. I had all the Pearl Jam originals because grunge was huge when I was in college. And I ended up selling all those. And I got a good bit for the whole lot, but now they're all like 300 a piece and up. It's like,
oh, you didn't keep them.
no, they're gone, and it's nauseating to see what the prices are on them now, but that's okay.
And so at that point, you were just buying new records. You weren't into like going out digging for used stuff. No one, well, not no one, but very select groups of people were doing that in the '90s, I guess.
Yeah, no, hadn't got into where things are now for sure. That was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I think maybe only 4 years ago. And it started. It started with. I saw What's in My Bag.
Yeah.
On YouTube, Cat Power, of all things, and she showed only 2 records. She showed a John Coltrane record, and she showed a Miles Davis record. And I had never really listened to either. You know, I knew of them. I had never really got into it. Even though I played jazz myself in school, I played trombone for 9 years, something like that, 7, 9 years. I was always just wanting to be into rock.
So even from the '90s all the way up to like 5 years ago, let's say, you were a rock guy.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then seeing that video and the story she told, it was a great story. I was like, I had a friend who was really into jazz. And he had everything, and he had a wide knowledge. And I knew the first thing I needed to do was call him. And I called him, and he gave me a list of 30 records to start looking for. If I was going to jump into jazz, he said, these are the 30 essentials. And I'm still looking for some because the ones he gave me are, some are pretty pricey. So I started there, and I immediately ascended to, Coltrane. I liked Coltrane more than I did Miles.
You went off the deep end in a hurry then, if you've only been into jazz for 5 years and you're where are you at now? Yeah,
and then the YouTube thing brought me to the VC. Immediately when I typed in jazz, it pulled up like Teddy. Eat Sleep Vinyl was one of the first. Needle Groove, you came up. Derek Higgins, LaBelle, Andrew.
You weren't looking for record videos. You were just kind of searching up jazz on YouTube, and that's how it came up.
Oh yeah, the VC hit me right in the face.
Yeah, for me, it's similar in the sense that that's not where I got into jazz. It was in college. I was really into hip hop, and I was like, I had listened to jazz with my dad. Like, he had these compilation CDs that I think they sold, like Verve, like 4 or 5 CDs of all Verve or Blue Note, and he had a bunch of those. So I was familiar, but didn't have any knowledge. And that was in college when I was like, I'm going to start buying jazz CDs. I was just buying hip hop, and then I started buying like soul and jazz and getting into other types of music. So I've been into jazz since like the early 2000s, and then in the late like 2008, 9, I started buying records. But just like slowly, a little bit here, there, whatever, like cheap reissues. And then I was similar to you. It wasn't What's in My Bag, but it was Crate Diggers. I don't know if you've watched.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was the next series I watched right after What's in My Bag was Crate Diggers.
Yeah.
And I got some of those records. I have some. My rap section in hip hop is all from crate diggers, you know, like.
And then but similar to you, that's where I discovered the VC, because like they give you recommended videos on the side. So I was watching Crate Diggers nonstop. Like this was when they were still making them. They were coming out every week. I was watching them. I don't know how I discovered it. And then that's where Van Secco Funk, it's like the only person that was there. So I started watching all of his videos, but I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. He's like, naming this person. I'm like, I like what this guy's doing. He's showing cool music, but like, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. And then eventually, I guess I discovered a couple other people and started to make some links like, oh, this is who he's talking about. And then it all came together. And that's where I kind of went out. You go off the deep end in a hurry when you start, discovering all
I'll never forget, like the first Van video I saw, I think he showed some stuff from Finland. It was like, I was like, what is this? And then he showed like a Ted Kurson trio record. And I finally found that record. It took me years to find. And because when I'm watching BC videos, I got my Discogs ready for the one. Because most, I told Mazzy, I did one of these videos with him, like 50% of what I pick up is on recommendation from you guys. And I've got a few here with me that I'm specifically from watching your videos. I picked up. So like this one right here, Eric Kloss Essence, one of the first videos that I ever saw of yours, you showed this record. And I was just starting into jazz. So I was like, well, this sounds like it's in my wheelhouse. Fantastic position that, not many people talk about. He's blind for one. And so he's got like a sixth sense with the instrument. It's amazing. Buster Williams on bass on this. So that was my introduction to Buster Williams. So anything I see with Buster is getting picked up.
Marvin Hannibal Peterson's on that one too, I think. No?
Yeah. Yes. On the trumpet. And he's also a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have this one too. Another video later on, you showed this. Stone Alliance.
Great record.
Yeah. And Cheap Heat. And man,
that one's not cheap. Well, an original, that one's not cheap, but they have some other good records too that are cheap, that are still good.
Yeah.
That one, the original, unfortunately, goes for a lot, but they're all.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, I picked this up for like maybe $8 or something. Yeah, yeah. Steve Grossman I like Steve Grossman a lot on the tenor, and Pearl and Elias is cooks.
What so you were not buying any, like, even though you started buying records in the early 90s a bit, and you stayed with rock, but you weren't continuously buying records from up until, like, you didn't get back into records until recently, or like in the mid 2000s were you buying records at all?
All I had was that one crate.
Okay.
And sold most of it, and I kept a few. I still have a few in there. Like I have the Rage original still.
Nice.
But no, it wasn't until I got probably like 900 CDs here. Damn. So I was buying music, believe me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the record started about 4 years or so ago, and so now there's probably like 1,400 records here. And
and you're also now, like, you were just into rock, mostly into rock, but now the jazz has kind of opened up tons of things. I know you're into African music now, and all types of different stuff.
Yeah, and that's also a lot to do with the VC, but a lot to do with jazz. Jazz leads you into like the krautrock stuff.
Yeah.
I always thought, oh, that's going to be too weird, or whatever. Like, what's Lavelle talking about? You know what I mean? He did a whole krautrock video. I was like, dang, that's cool, man. Like, he's got all this stuff. And no, man, I just picked up a Can record yesterday. It's fantastic.
When you say like too crazy, you're knowing like the type of some of the rock that you've listened to. You're not just listening to like classic rock. You're listening to some heavy stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's funny how everybody perceives things differently. So yeah.
It's your comfort zone, right? Like, you learn as you listen more, you get more comfortable, and like, you might be comfortable with rock, but then jazz seems crazy. But then as you listen more and more, you start to open up. And
yeah, for sure. And then for me, most with most music, it has to have groove. Period. That's the underlying thing for me. If it doesn't have groove for me, then nah, not into it. But even the crazy stuff, I can find a groove in it.
Yeah.
You just, some of it's more challenging than others, especially with free jazz.
Yeah, Mr. Sunra over here.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's different. That's outer space, man. That's that's the cosmos. That's a whole nother realm.
Different groove.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, okay, so that's a bit of that's the most of your history in terms of into music and stuff. And then I like to kind of, before we dig into you showing some records, what I like to do is kind of get the anatomy of your collection. So kind of what makes up the bulk of it, how you have it organized. I always find interesting. I was actually just talking to Dave Gibson about that yesterday. Like, where do you classify? How do you have it organized? I know it's a constant conversation among record collectors and stuff, but there's definitely records that straddle the line between, is it Latin? Is it Latin jazz? Do you put it in jazz? Stuff like that. Do you have it by label? Do you have it just everything mixed together? So talk to us about that a bit.
All right.
You can even show it.
I feel like a librarian in here. Yeah, I have probably 10 and a half cubes of jazz. Everything is alphabetical by last name or by artist, depending, and everything is in order of release date.
Within the artist. So
within the artist. So there's probably close to 60 Coltrane records there. And they are literally by release date.
Not by recording date. Because with Coltrane, it's tricky.
Based on the year, whichever the year is the Discogs lists.
Okay.
I don't know if that's recorded or.
The reason I say that is because, like a lot of stuff with Coltrane, like Atlantic would be releasing it later, like once. Right. So it's like it might have come out in '62, but it actually was recorded in '57. I try to actually to kind of put it by the year it was.
Oh yeah, I could go deeper and do that. Oh my God. Now you're causing me an issue. But no,
it gets complicated because some records have two sessions where one's like 73 and one's 69, and then you're screwed. So.
Yeah. Oh, the Blue Note doubles. Oh yeah, those are hell. No, but yeah. So alphabetical, and then by genre. So yeah, jazz, and then we have basically a DJ Shadow section.
Stuff he sampled.
What's that?
Stuff that he sampled. Or actually DJ Shadow Records.
Oh, DJ Shadow Records. So that's a whole section. And then there's funk and soul. And then there's reggae. And then there's African. And there's Brazilian. And got a krautrock section now.
Expand.
Then there's four cubes of rock. And then there's one full box of Spanish rock.
Spanish rock. That's your B core stuff and other stuff.
Yeah, the B core stuff. There's a whole box of that, and then I've got pro DJ cases here. One of 7 inches. It's full of 7 inches, and the other's getting ready to have records put in it because I'm out of space.
And then CDs is mostly all rock.
CDs is. Now there's a whole trip hop section that's ridiculous.
Cool.
From the 90s, that stuff. But yeah, mostly rock. I can tell you that I have the most B core titles outside of Spain of probably anybody in the United States. I've been told that from artists on the label.
How many? I'm not too familiar with the label, but I mean, I know you've told me about it. How many? Is it a big label? There's a lot of releases, or?
Yeah, they've been around 30 years now.
Okay.
Basically spawned from, in my opinion, there was a Fugazi concert that happened in Barcelona, and then boom, the label started, and on it went. It's great stuff, man.
Cool. So you want to show it? You pulled some record to feature and show us?
Yeah, I did. I got a few that. So I picked up a lot of records recently, but these are the few that are that really stand out, get a lot of spins. And so the first is one that Julius Jabbar, his channel, he had showed, and I was able to find a copy. I think maybe he even helped me find this copy. But it's John Shakai, Tribal Ghost, and this is unbelievable. It's a live session from Birdland from back in 2007, and your favorite musician is on this record, Cecil McBee. So I definitely know that's why I pulled this one.
You
It's,
sent me,
Billy Hart.
I think you told me about that one. You had messaged me and told me about that.
Yeah, Billy Hart on the drums. But who stands out on this record is this guitar player, Garrison Fuel. Unbelievable performance. This is limited to 1,000 copies. No Business Records out of Lithuania put this out. It's pressed in Germany though, which is good. It's a really great pressing. Sounds fantastic.
What's the name of the record again?
Tribal Ghost.
Tribal
John
Ghost.
Shakai. And he had played, I think, like on Ascension with John Coltrane. Fantastic. Tenor sax player, plays bass clarinet on here too, which is not an easy instrument to play. One like Eric Dolphy had played.
And that's it was recorded in the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2007 at Birdland. Great record.
Cool.
The other one would be one I found at Dusty Groove out of Chicago. The Rashid Ali Quartet, New Directions in Modern Music.
Yeah, I saw you got that. That's heavy.
Yeah, on his Survival label. I Need Everything on this label. And it's Alex, Motor 247, that got me heavy into Rashid Ali. He's had a big influence on me too, like yourself, with going, I wouldn't know about Heldon. That stuff wasn't for Alex. But yeah, Carlos Ward is on this. Underrated alto player. Great tone. He plays the flute on here too. He's done stuff with Dollar Brand. But Rashid Ali
Tom gave me one of his records with Dollar Brand. I think live at Sweet Basil. I can't remember where it is, but
yeah, with Carlos Ward.
Yeah,
I got that at Lunchbox in a radio station sale. So it's got a radio station strip on it. It's cool. But that would be, and then I've got just two more here. This one, Sun Ra, Languidity. This came from Teddy recently, and this doesn't leave the table.
No doubt.
So this one's the foil cover is the 78 OG. Sounds fantastic. Yeah, this is
Sun Ra's grooviest record.
Yeah. So that one's been getting a lot of play, and then this Avant masterpiece. I'm really into this guy now, and trying to find more of his records. The trumpeter Bill Dixon. It's the Bill Dixon Orchestra.
I remember Teddy talking about it's a great record, but I remember Teddy really raving about that record. There was actually one that went up for sale last week that I didn't buy on Instagram.
Yeah, it's his favorite record probably, and Intents and Purposes. I found it on the wall up at the Bop Shop in Rochester this past holidays, and it was crazy because their wall is so packed that you can only see like slivers of the records, and I saw his eyeball.
It's a great cover. Very.
Yeah. But it's an original. God, it sounds fantastic. And the pressings do sound different. There's a reason. Yeah, so there is definitely a difference, but there's some interesting musicians on this. Byard Lancaster's on this, who I know you dig. He plays bass clarinet on this. This is Jimmy Garrison's on the bass. Reggie Workman's on the bass too.
What year is that from again? I have in my mind either it's like earlier, or is it from 67 or 64 or something?
Nailed it. 67.
67, yeah.
Yeah, RCA Victor. Yeah, this avant masterpiece.
Yeah.
That's what I have to show.
Cool. Thanks. Before we head out, what I do like to do before we wrap up is a few blind pulls. I find are always fun. So we saw what you chose, but I like to it gives us some insight into people's crates or shelves when you have to like kind of close your eyes. And I know Maddie likes to do he calls it a whack-a-mole, I guess.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So if you want to, we'll do a couple of those, 2-3 of those, and see what comes out.
All right. Well, you want to name a section, and I'll just grab something out of the section, or
start with we'll do 2 jazz, and then maybe 1 or 2 from your other sections.
All right, 2 jazz it is. All right, let's see what we do here. All right. Totally blind. All right, I don't know what this is. God, they're packed in there like sardines. All right, I got one there. We'll try another one here. We'll go down here. Let's see what this is. All right, I got 2.
See it.
All right.
I know them both. Nice.
Oh, all right, cool. Man, I haven't played this in a while. So we got Louis Hayes.
Yeah.
The Real Thing.
I don't have that one. It's such a recognizable cover too.
There's some great musicians on this. Woody Shaw on the trumpet. Renee McLean, Jackie McLean's son.
Yeah.
Is here on soprano, alto, and tenor. All 3. I mean, what a musician. Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And then, yeah, Louis Hayes is such a fantastic drummer. This is an underrated record. Muse.
Yeah, I haven't come across it, but definitely something I would grab. I love the Muse label. Ronnie Matthews, I don't know. Like, I have one of his records, an early 60s, like Prestige or mid 60s, which is great with Freddie Hubbard, but you don't see him too often on too many things.
No, good pianist. Yeah. Yeah, cool record.
Stafford James is someone I pulled out recently, and I was like, oh, I don't really recognize his name, and now I see it everywhere. He played with Sun Ra, and he played with like a whole bunch of different people.
Let's see what else. Oh, this is a good one. One of my favorite Thelonious Monk records, if not my favorite, Straight No Chaser. An original on Columbia, 6i.
Classic Monk. That was one of my I remember buying that at Burlington Records, and it was kind of when I was first getting into buying like original jazz records. I was so excited to find that when I was driving through Burlington.
Not a 6i, 2i, excuse me. They weren't doing 6i then.
Yeah, it's a bit later one, so it would have been a 2i, would have been the originally, right?
Yeah, 2i's. Now, the story with this record is an interesting one. I was home a couple of years ago and went up to Record Archive in Rochester with my mom. And I got a few things, and this was there. It was like $30 or 35, something like that. And it was a little more than I wanted to spend. I went out the car, and I was, had just really been into collecting jazz, and I was like, Ma, man, that's a really great record they have in there. She's like, you need to go back in there and get it. It's like, when are you ever going to see it again? I went in there and got it. I've never seen it since.
Nice.
So, yeah, so that one's thanks to Karen, thanks to my mom.
I don't think my mom would ever encourage me to buy a record. She thinks I have enough.
Oh yeah, I tell her about it every now and again. I'm glad I got that record. I've never seen it in a store. I've never seen it back online or nothing. So.
Not one you see often. Yeah, I definitely. I found another copy this year, and I happened to. I was like, I'm going to buy another one and gift it to someone. But then there was a guy in the store that I kind of knew through Instagram. Actually, when we were chatting, I was like, do you have this? He's like, no. I was like, here you go. And he bought it. I didn't even have time to buy it and gift it to someone.
Yeah, this cover art is one of my favorite covers in jazz, anything really. It's fantastic art. All right, so we got to do some more pulls here. Name another section.
African.
All right, oh boy. Oh, yeah. So we got Coletta and Super Yamba Band, Madejo. Look at that cover.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is, but it looks wild.
Oh, it's fantastic. This is on Ubiquity. This is a recent album from last year.
Okay.
Um, Story behind this is last time I was up at Carolina Soul in Durham, they were playing this in the store, and it was so freaking good. I was like, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's this Coletta and Super Yamba band. It's on the wall. You need to pick it up." And I was like, "Alrighty, I will."
Where's he from?
And I'm not sure. That's a good question. I can't remember which country exactly, but
Cool.
guitar player, fantastic. This has a good vibe to it, like a fail vibe. But they were set to play Charlotte uh, early this year at Snug Harbor, which is a small place like right down the street from here. Stoked was going to go, and then COVID. And of course, they canceled. And then also the dude from Cannes was going to be playing there too. So that canceled too, man. This is sucks for the venues right now. But,
That sucks, but I'll definitely check that out on my phone. I'll listen to it in the car this week.
oh yeah, good jams.
Cool.
All right.
One more. Let's do one more.
Yeah. All right.
You choose reggae, whatever you want. Reggae, crowd rock.
Reggae's a good section. Let's see if I can pull out of there. Oh, dub extravaganza, Burning Spear,
Oof.
Garvey's Ghost. Yeah, this I'm not sure what pressing this is on. What is that? Mango, which is part of Island Records. But this is one that Teddy had recommended when I first started getting into reggae and dub. He's like, "This is the one you have to get." Yeah, this is really good.
With it. I'm not familiar with a lot of. He has a lot of recorded stuff. I have seen him live though, and it was amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man! Where'd you see him at?
It was at. I think it was part of the Jazz Fest. It was a double bill with Toots and the Maytals. So I think Burning Spear was first, but like two full concerts back to back as part of the Jazz Fest in Montreal. Like probably almost 15 years ago, probably. Yeah.
See, that's what I love about. Yeah, you've shown some good stuff from that jazz festival, like Shabaka Hutchings, and like on your videos. I always look forward to that to see what's been in town up there, man. You guys get really good,
Yeah.
really musicians to play.
I mean, there are tons of good festivals, but Montreal is definitely up there with one of the top festivals. It's not just jazz; it's called the Jazz Festival, but it's basically a music festival. But there's always jazz at its core, where there's a lot of jazz musicians. But then you get everything: reggae, hip hop, blues. Like you get all types.
Yeah, I mean it's impressive every time I hear about it and see who's playing. Man, it's like, oh, I'd look at it. It's amazing, amazing festival.
It's strange this year because it's just something we're used to having every summer, and it would be going on right now. Every night there's like for a week and a half there's free shows. Like every night I think there's like 4 or 5 stages, and then they alternate. So there's like over 10, 20 free shows every day, and paid shows going on at like 10, like all these different venues. Like it's just like it's overwhelming because there's always something. There's someone you want to see, but there's something else at the same time. Like you can't do it all. There's just so much live music happening in that week and a half. It's crazy.
Yeah, we have a jazz festival in Charlotte once a year. It's always hosted by Wynton Marsalis, and he's usually the headlining act on the last day, like on a Sunday at the main theater. It's usually like super expensive, to see him. But the other parts of it are all, outdoor free across downtown in some of the parks.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool, man. You get to see a lot.
That very typical of Wynton. I'm not surprised when you say that. He's the headlining act and it's super expensive, but
oh yeah, it'll set you back near like $3 or something crazy.
Here, the Montreal Jazz Fest does something where the headlining act is always like the finale, but it's free. So like Stevie Wonder was one year. I think the 30th anniversary was Stevie Wonder. They've done like Ben Harper one year was huge. just always like some huge name closing out the show for free, you know?
Man, that's what's up. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
good seeing you, man.
Yeah, it's great to do this. Nice to
Yeah.
get a little insight into your, more insight into your musical history and your how you got into this crazy thing called vinyl and collecting and jazz.
Oh yeah, the jazz stuff is never ending, man. The want list grows daily. It's scary, dude.
Certainly does. Cool. Well, as we said, strange times, but I hope you stay safe, stay well, and we'll definitely be in touch. I enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Oh, likewise. Take care, Kieran.
Peace.
Peace.